I see people are joining already. We've got two cameras going on here. So if you don't see me looking directly at you, that's because we have two cameras. But thank you so much for joining Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TalkShop Live. We are here and I'm joined by my wonderful sister, Michelle. We're going to be talking about my brand new book, The Nature of Change. Brand new children's book. It's my second children's book. We're going to be answering questions, talking about the inspiration, and talking about why this book is such a book for now. And if you are a parent and you're trying to figure out how to help your little one navigate big change in life, in the world, this is a book that you're certainly going to want to have. So Michelle, I'm so glad that you're on with me, that you got out of work in time to join me on Instagram.
Don't worry, sister. I'm with you for the ride. And I have my copy right here. And I got to say, my son absolutely loves the illustrations. He's 1.5, so he doesn't quite understand the words and the themes of the book. But the illustrations, this book is so gorgeous. Love, love, love what you're doing. And we're so proud of you. Let me just say that. As a little sister, I'm proud of my big sis and what she's been able to accomplish as a children's book author.
Thank you. I like to hear that, little sis. For those of you who don't know, we're both in journalism. Michelle is an anchor at the ABC affiliate here in Washington, D.C., and she scooted home really quickly to do this in Instagram Live, TalkShop Live, so we could talk about this book. Michelle, I know you've got tons of questions, so I'll let you go. Go.
I do. Okay. And we want to let people know that while this conversation is unfolding, we want to hear from you. You can chime in with any questions you have, and we'll get them directly to the author who we have the privilege of talking to right now. All right. So let's get to it. The nature of change, Renee. First, tell me what the theme is of this book, what it's about, and describe it to us for those who are just learning of it.
So the nature of change, and we'll get into the backstory as to how this book came to be, but at its core, this is a book that is intended to help parents, just give parents a tool to talk to their kids about big changes in life. I mean, it could be anything from a change in family structure, a change in neighborhood, in school, to bigger things like the loss of a family member, or change in financial stability within the household. I mean, it runs the gamut, but this book is supposed to be a tool to help parents, help children navigate changes that are inevitable in life. And so what it does is it uses nature as a metaphor to walk children through this change. I mean, just imagine, Michelle, how difficult it is to try to teach a young child this abstract concept of resilience and hope. It's a really difficult abstract thing to try to teach them. So what this book does is it uses nature as a metaphor. And now you don't have to explain resilience as much as you have to just say, do you remember that spider that rebuilt? And then they realize that they too can rebuild.
So beautiful. And these are all things that, we can learn by just taking a step outside, perhaps in our backyard. You're talking about spiders and just the trees and the flowers, everything around us. Why was now the time to write a book like this? Why is it so urgent now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that no one would disagree that, change, it feels like you wake up and things are different than they were 24 hours ago. I don't think that's debatable. And if we think that our kids don't recognize this, we are mistaken, because as you know, my daughter, Sienna, she is just 2, and the things that they pick up on, that you don't even realize that they're so clued into. So this is just one of one of those times in the world where everything feels fast paced, and
Oh, it looks like we might.
child is absorbing all of this. So it is my hope that this could be one tool to help them if they are struggling with the change that's happening literally by the moment.
Oh, okay. I want to get to a couple of the questions. We're getting some really good ones in here. Let me scroll here. Zoe is asking, is there one lesson in the book that you wish you had learned earlier in life? Ooh, that's good, Zoe. Renee?
Yeah, that is a good one. I mean, honestly, all of the lessons in this book, I feel like I wish I learned earlier in life. And that takes me to, how this story was born. For all of you that don't know, I had the unfortunate motherhood story and journey of losing my 2-year-old son, Blake, to pediatric brain cancer. And after losing Blake, I spent a great deal of time just sitting in my backyard, really in zombie mode. And the one thought that I had a lot was, gosh, navigating this life change is so hard. And I wish that someone was developing that muscle of hope and resilience so much earlier in life so that perhaps it wouldn't feel so hard. Now, not to say that, losing a child is never going to be a struggle. It is, but I feel like if we learn these ideas of hope and resilience and almost like working out a muscle, like we go to the gym and strengthen those muscles within these kids, they can navigate it a lot better than we are doing right now, without hope, without resilience. We're building up this muscle so that they can face these problems with a healthy mind. So I would say hope and resilience are the lessons that I kind of wish, and it is my hope for the readers that they will start really tapping in to strengthen that muscle much earlier. If we could teach kids the golden rule and their ABCs, I feel like this book is a way, in an age appropriate way, to introduce them to things that I think should be in everyone's life survival toolkit, which is resilience, hope, and determination.
All right. I don't want to wait any longer before I start showing people some of the beautiful pages inside. And as I'm flipping through, these are the central characters, right? Tell us a little bit about them. They're brother and sister.
Yeah. So the boy on there, his name is Kit, and the little girl, her name is Amal. And both of these characters are inspired by my two children, Blake and Sienna. And I took a lot of time to think through these names, and they have great meaning. Kit is, again, he's the little boy, and that name means the bearer of Christ. It essentially reflects who my children are in their spirit and who they helped me to become. So Blake, for example, he certainly, the name Kit means faith and quiet strength. Blake embodied a quiet strength. As he was going through his cancer treatments, he had this quiet resilience about him. And because of that, I developed this just unshakable faith. And so that is why the little boy's name is Kit. And then Amal, that means hope and expectation. And that is what my daughter Sienna represents for me. And so these two young children, they are dealing with change, and that change is in the form of a brand new house. They absolutely hate this house. They want to go back to their old house. But it is a trip outside to their backyard as they weave through nature that they stumble upon some of the most profound lessons that really make them have second thoughts about what they were feeling about this new home. And that mirrors what I experienced within my grief. When I would sit amongst nature, I would receive some of the most profound messages from the trees that surrounded me, from the sun that showed up with persistence every day, the trees as they lost everything in the fall, but then they bloomed in the next season. I was receiving all of those messages. And so this is my hope, that I can pass on these lessons to these young children, and just know that if they want to be inspired in this way, all they need to do is walk outside.
Mhm. I love that. And there are so many great moments in this book. You talked about some of them, uh, from the morning glories to the tree that lost its branch. I'm just curious, how did you decide which moments in nature you were going to use to spotlight for these deeper themes that you have in this book?
Well, the tree that lost its limb, but they point out that it continues to grow. That is based on a true story. So there was this really big snowstorm a few years ago, and it basically cracked the limb of a tree in our backyard. And I could see that tree every single day through our window, and that limb was just literally hanging on by just a shred of bark, and it just hung there. It hung there throughout winter and into the spring. And I honestly, was on the to-do list to have that taken down. But something about the broken limb really resonated with me and the emotional state I was in. So I kind of let it be. And to my surprise, that spring, it started to sprout leaves. And to me, what that said was, even in your broken state, you can still grow, you can still blossom. And I truly received that message. And so that image and that part of the story is inspired by a true lesson that I received from just looking out of my window. And that was probably one of the most profound messages that I have received from nature.
Mm-hmm. Maria, I'm going to the question section because I don't want to leave the crowd out there asking some really good questions. I'm seeing them. Keep them coming, folks. And a shout out to all of those who have purchased the book already. Shop Talk Live audience, you can just click the shop button and you'll be able to purchase a book easily. And it'll be signed and autographed by the very own René Marsh. So that's an extra treat for you today. And if you're watching on Instagram and Facebook, remember, comment shop and you'll get a direct link right in your DMs on how to order the book as well. Okay, let's get to the comments. Let me go back here because there's such a good list. Maria wants to know, are there ways that you practice resilience in your own life that connect to the book? Good one, Maria.
Well, I mean, our best example of resilience that's in the book is the plight of the spider. I mean, how many times have we watched the spider just kind of start over and over and over again? The rainstorm came and washed away its work, and then it's back at it. And that is one of the lessons that we have in the book. And again, this is why this book is so perfect for parents who are trying to find just the age appropriate way to have these conversations. I mean, this nature as a metaphor for resilience, it just makes it very relatable for the child. And so it becomes, remember the spider, and the child right away remembers that this spider was able to rebuild, and so can I. So yeah, I mean, resilience, the plight of the spider, I'm always amazed that it just keeps going, and it doesn't get upset about, well, I don't know, maybe it is upset, but look, it just keeps on reweaving, and it doesn't give up.
Now, I know your 3-year-old loves this book. I know you've read it to her many times when I've been over your house. She's picked it out of all the books on the shelf. She says, Auntie, this one. And I actually just read it to her, I think 2 weekends ago. I'm wondering what lessons at the age of 3, we've talked about a lot here, but at the age of 3, what has she been able to take away from this?
I mean, I think, obviously this book is from ages 3 to 8. So there's a spectrum of the children and what they will take away from this book. I mean, for my daughter, she is on the younger end of the spectrum. I mean, she is paying careful attention to the trees. And at her age, she's asking a lot of questions. So I think right now it's just answering her questions, her appreciating nature. I think this is another secondary thing of this book. I know as parents, we're always struggling about how much screen time they get. And I do think that encouraging your children to look at nature as a teacher also will help them to have a greater appreciation for the outdoors. And so you have a dual purpose there. But for Sienna, I mean, she luckily, thank God, is not facing some major changes in our life circumstances, but she does deal with change, like, change in class, change in teachers, and that is very difficult for her at this age. And so now I'm starting to, explain to her, that changes happen, and just through pictures, because I think at this age she learns best through pictures, showing her and just explaining to her that, change is sometimes hard, but it's okay and it's a part of life. Oh,
And
and I see that my illustrator, I do want to give a shout out.
yes,
My illustrator has joined um, the chat here. She is, oh my goodness, she understood the vision. And I mean, these kids are so cute. We went back and forth on what, uh, for example, Amal's hair would look like, because Michelle, you remember us, we always wore like these little barrettes in our hair. And so I wanted it to feel authentic to what my childhood and my hairstyles look like. And she really captured that. So Pumudi Gardia Wasam, thank you so much for this beautiful contribution to this book. I mean, she just captured everything that was in my head perfectly. So I did want to say hi to her. She just joined.
awesome. Yeah, let's show off some more of her beautiful work. I actually put a little bookmark here because I wanted to read a section of it. Is that okay if I read a section of it?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm
This is
curious
one,
what section you're going to read.
this is one of my favorites, and it's because when I last read it to Sienna, my niece, your daughter, she just started yelling, "Morning glories, morning glories." So it stood out in my head too. So I'm just going to read a quick passage here, and then we'll talk on the other side. In the densest part of the woods, Kit and Amal found the most wonderful thing. Morning glories. They shouted, racing toward the creeping vines, just like at our old house. The vines had climbed high, but the blooms were still closed. And then here, why aren't they all open? Amal asked. They're supposed to bloom in daylight. With all this shade, there probably isn't enough light for them yet, Kit pointed out. They probably think the sun is never coming back, Amal said. I bet they're sad. And I picked this section because so often when I read children's books, I'm also looking for the hidden message for me as a mom, as the adult. Because sometimes you read the same book over and over. And so you're looking for that extra something. And I thought, my goodness, aren't there plenty of times in life where you have an expectation for something to happen and it hasn't happened yet? And that to me was a reminder of the importance of patience. Was that the message you were going for with this passage?
Yeah, absolutely. Patience, and while you're waiting, to still be hopeful, and not, be discouraged. And that's really what we were trying to convey. So I'm glad that that's what that was your takeaway, because that means we did a good job. But yeah, I mean, these are all of these things, patience, resilience, hope, determination. I mean, these are skills that when you learn them, you're going to use them for the rest of your life. So, I mean, we owe it to these children to try to help them to really get a handle on it as early as possible, right? The more you practice, the better you are going to be at it. And so that is my goal. I mean, Michelle, and it's been like this for years. I love kids so much. And, for my more than 20 years in television news, I've been telling stories about the world events, changes in people's lives, in people's communities, how they react to different shifts in their community. But this is different for me because I'm writing for a different audience. But for so long, many people don't know this about me, but I have such a big mom heart. And when I became a mom, that mom heart became even bigger. And so this book is my expression of love for children beyond just my children. I love children that don't belong to me. And it's an expression of love and hope that they will do well in life, and do and face everything in life with a healthy mind. And so that really is my other motivation here, is to just truly hope this book has a staying power for generations to come, where this thing that seemed like kind of hard to explain, now it's a little bit easier.
You mentioned your long career in journalism, storytelling. I'm just curious what your approach to this project. Let's dig into the process of it. We've gotten some questions about that. Storytelling is actually at the heart of what you do day to day. But what kind of tweaks to how you approach something like writing for a children's book did you have to make? And was there a learning curve in figuring out, where to start?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, this is different medium for me. Writing TV news for adult consumption for the most part. Now, trying to write for young children. But then in some ways, it's similar, because as journalists, our job is to take complex issues and simplify them so they're easily understood. So, this oversimplified what I usually do in my 9 to 5. I simplified it even more. So there was some similarities there. As far as process, this really was a project of the heart, and also of actual experience. So during my time in nature, I journal, and I kept notes of lessons I learned for my own self, and that was for me. And then it was later on down the road that I said, this would be great to share with others beyond myself. And that's how this became, a book. And I worked with the wonderful people at Zonder Kids, an imprint of HarperCollins, to bring it to life, and worked with my illustrator, Pamudi, to bring it to life. But really, this was a project of the heart, and writing what I actually experienced during my time in nature.
Do you want to remind folks where they can pick up this book, the autograph copy, one more time?
Yeah. So, okay. So if you're watching now on Instagram, Facebook, all you need to do is comment shop. And then there's going to be an automatic DM that's going to send you a link to where you can get this book. And it's going to be autographed. I am signing all the books myself. So if you want an autographed copy, please just comment shop. But if you're watching on YouTube, you just scroll down and you'll see in the lower part there, we have a link for where you can purchase the autographed copy. And of course, this book is going to be out officially on March 10th. I'm looking forward to that. And I see someone asked a really good question here. I mean, I think we kind of touched on it. This person asked, what does look like in the natural world, and how can we apply that to our lives? I mean, like I said, that example of the spider who rebuilds its web. I mean, you could also, resilience / determination, the determination of the trees that they lose their leaves, they lose everything every fall, but they remain standing. The broken limb in my tree, in my backyard on that tree, still bloomed again. The resilience of nature, in many ways, if you start paying attention, you will see that nature mirrors a lot of the emotion of the human experience, if you're truly paying attention. So I am challenging not just the kids, but even the adults, take some time out to just sit and be and see what you receive as far as messages, and then go inside and go and read this book to your loved one.
Yeah, Renee, I really got to say, I love what you've done with this book, because it really unlocks conversation with kids that typically a lot of moms, parents, families don't think about having. And I especially think it's great what you did on reneemarsh.com, where you added some extras that people can download, like journal prompts for kids to start journaling and thinking of how to express their thoughts using words. Tell me, what was the genesis for that? What were you hoping to accomplish with that extra element?
Yeah, so we have on renemarsh.com, my website. This book we've created a multi-sensory experience for children. So there is a journal there that you can download, and it has lots of prompts that essentially, in the best case scenario, it invites the kid outside to observe that the birds are singing or that the sun is shining, and it asks questions like, the sun shows up every day, what does that mean for you, showing up every day? Or it points out changes within nature, and then it asks the child, what changes are you seeing in your life? It just gives children an opportunity to pause, to appreciate their surroundings, to pay attention, to focus their minds, and give some of these questions some thoughts. And then the other really cool download that we have on our website is a Spotify playlist, which has all sorts of sounds of nature, from the raindrops to the wind blowing. It's something that you can play after reading the bedtime story. Perhaps the audio is something that they can listen to while lulling themselves to sleep. I mean, what I really wanted to create was something that would engage many of the senses of these young kids, their sight, their hearing, like all of it, to truly immerse them in this moment of nature and all the lessons that it has to offer.
Nature and journaling. I think all those things are good because it allows you to be self-reflective. I know recently you started running again, and when I saw some of your Instagram stories and posts, I was like, oh, she went back to her roots. A lot of people don't know Renee ran track in high school. I was always impressed by that. I was cheering her on at her track meets. But it did this book and this process remind you of some of those things, those joys that you maybe hadn't activated in a while? Was this the catalyst for getting back to running and being in nature?
No, actually, the catalyst was like, I've had two kids. I really wanted to make sure that I'm healthy, that I get my body in shape. And so that, in all transparency, was the true catalyst. And I wanted to try something different. And again, you're right. I hadn't started running I hadn't run since like high school, and really didn't desire to until now, at this not late, but at this stage in my life. I'm like revisiting this. And then I'm like, oh, now I'm that person. Like, I would always be driving and see these people running. They're running in all sorts of weather. And I was never really drawn to that. And now I'm like, oh, I get it now, because I've had so many aha moments on my runs, and it really has allowed me to be together with nature and see even more lessons. And this time, while I'm running, I'm not necessarily in the depths of grief. I'm in a different stage in my life. I don't think grief will ever leave me. It will always be a part of my life, but I'm not where I was in 2021 when I lost Blake. So I'm experiencing nature this time through a different lens. And I'm so grateful every time I go for a run, I get a new lesson. And so it really has been a joy. And it has been a parallel, kind of accidentally, that I'm writing this book. And now all of a sudden I'm a runner and I'm always out in nature. So
She's a runner, she's a track star. She has trophies in track.
yeah, I do.
Let's not undersell it. Okay, I know we're getting close to wrapping here, and I've really enjoyed the conversation and all the really sharp questions from those who have joined the chat. We still have
Darlene just joined. Hi, Darlene.
We still have time to get some questions in, or if you just want to shout out and let Renee know you're in the room, that's great too. But Renee, I did want to give you a chance to point out or highlight a special passage or part of the book that you especially loved writing, or there's a special moment in time that that part of the book came together.
Sure. I mean, I'm kind of a biased person to ask, because like I love the entire
like the entire book. Child.
What?
It's like choosing your favorite child.
Yeah, exactly. I think this part is so cute when they're walking. Well, number one, obviously, it's always going to be this because I have a personal connection to the tree with the broken limb. But then I just think this section is pretty cute, where they encounter the spider web, and actually they are the ones that wipe out this spider's hard work. And then they get to see firsthand how this spider recovers. I would say that that's probably one of my favorites, especially even the illustration that shows almost like a time lapse of how this spider is so resilient and rebuilds literally one strand at a time. And I think us taking a moment to let this breathe, this moment breathe, that like once the spider's web and hard work was totally wiped out, you know, it had to have enough patience and enough grit to say, I've now got to do this all over again. And it wasn't easy. But we followed it, and we followed its journey until it kind of, you know, was able to complete its web. And so I really like this section. And I think even like taking that moment and peeling it out and talking about it a little bit more with your kids, there's a lot there that you could digest. The other thing that I really noticed is that, you know, for kids Sienna's age, there are a lot of like just cute animals in between just that just peek out. So they're observing just nature in itself, asking questions like, what is that? So they're getting familiar with like, you know, the different animals and things of that sort. So I think there's a lot in here for both age groups, but like you said, Michelle, also for the reader who's the adult in the room. Because don't we all need like a reminder? It's amazing because you said that when you're reading these children's books, you're looking for a message for you too. And it's true. By the time we have lived life and we've worked and we've done all the things, and we're ending the night with this final story with our kids, we could use a pick me up emotionally too. Oh, hey, Nikki, how are you? So I hope that others will find it valuable. I mean, these lessons, I think, to me, it's not too young. I mean, it's like you can benefit from it too, no matter how old you are.
I feel like you're just scratching the surface with the nature of change. Viewers and readers who love this book, do they just have to keep their fingers crossed for the next installment?
We'll see. I mean,
we're thinking of maybe a follow-up to this.
We'll see. I mean, look, they're in this book alone, you know, we have to do manageable chunks with these little ones so that they can digest it all. But in this book, you have 3 very strong, distinct lessons from nature. But I can tell you from the time that I have spent out in nature, there's way more than 3. So there's certainly the possibility, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's get through this one first.
Okay. You know, I'm a journalist too. Always want to look ahead.
I know. What is Darlene is asking us a question. She says, "Is that similar to your own journey?" I wonder what she's referencing, because Darlene, I'm just now seeing your question, so it's probably in the moment to whatever I was saying. So if you give me a fuller question, I can answer. Thank you. I see all the congrats. I really appreciate you all. I really, really do. I mean, this has been, I mean, it's so distinct from what I do from 9 to 5. And I think that's why I love it, because it is kind of an escape for me to kind of break away and focus my mind on something different. And again, it's very much in line with how much I love children. So the nature of change, again, for those of you, and I see people just joining, this book is a book that I would say, especially where we're at right now, just in the world. I mean, how many of us have just looked away from a TV for like literally 5 minutes, and then, you know, by the time you know it, there's an update or something new. I mean, literally the world is changing by the moment. And as we said earlier, I mean, if we as adults are overwhelmed, how do we think children are absorbing all of this? And so I really do. And it's not because I wrote the book, but I truly do believe that this is a book that parents will want to have as a tool when you're helping your little one navigate the big change that's happening in their lives. And look, the reality is some children may be experiencing those sort of earth shaking life changes, and some may be experiencing the more routine changes of childhood. But for whichever circumstance it is, this book is opening the door for gentle conversation to help parents. A lot of times they're baffled. How do I help them? What words do I use so that they get it? And this is the thing that makes it so much easier. Speaking in metaphors, using something as accessible as nature to explain to your little one how to navigate change, what resilience means, the resilience of the spider, the determination of the tree with the broken limb to continue to grow, the morning glories that are not seeing the sun now, so they're shut tight, but they have hope that the sun will come back out. All of these things are the things that I know through going through the darkest time in my life, that you cannot survive life without them. You literally cannot. You cannot survive life without hope. You cannot survive without determination. It's a rough go if you don't have those things. And as adults, we owe it to them to prepare them for what we know is inevitable. Life is going to come with changes, and much of that change is unwanted change. And so, how do we prepare them to deal with it, and have a victory, and do it with a sound mind? And so that's what I hope for all the readers.
Yeah, and I think what you said earlier, Renee, about comparing it to a muscle. Often when you work out, you have muscle memory. So once you work at being able to, tap into, okay, how did I overcome this complicated matter the last time? And you look back at how you ended up on the other side, still whole, still standing. That muscle memory can trigger almost like a strategy. Like, okay, I've confronted difficult things before. This one may be bigger than the last challenge. It may be a challenge that I truly don't have power over, but I know I have the will and the strength through my faith and through just the muscle memory that you talked about to take on whatever I run up against. And as the kids say, life be lifing.
Yeah. So Darlene said, you have experienced so much at times. Did you have to sit and reflect? To answer that, I would say it depends on what stage of the stuff I was going through, right? When I was like in the heart of it and in the heat of it, no, you're just literally trying to survive it. But the only way, looking back, the only way that I was able to survive it is, and it being the loss of my son to cancer. That's my change that I didn't want. The only way I was able to survive that, honestly, was because I did have hope. Even though there were so many other emotions that at the time felt so much stronger than my hope, the hope still existed. I still believe that I had more to expect for my future. And I was right. I now have my daughter, which is such a wonderful blessing. So I think a lot of my reflection is happening now in this stage of my life. I'm reflecting on, all that I've been through, and then how to carry through. So hopefully I answered that, Darlene. This is excellent. I love this. Michelle, I cannot wait to read this book to my baby nephew, Denver, and Sienna together. She's really already into it. So she is my, like, what do they call? What?
Test audience.
Yes, she's my test audience. So right now it's working for her, and she's in the demo of the ages 2 to 3 demo, and she's liking it. So I'm having faith about all of this. But
here to be styled like this, right?
Oh yeah. So this is what I mean about, like, we think that our kids aren't noticing things, but they are. So this was a perfect example of that. I took out this book. My daughter had looked at it maybe about once, put it down, And then maybe a couple weeks later, she picked it up and said she wanted her hair like this. And to me, I was kind of taken aback because she's only 2. And to have the sort of, you know, mind to say, see something, an image, and then want to emulate it. I don't know. I felt like that's something you might hear from an older, like maybe a 4-year-old, but no. So to me, what that said 2 things. Number one, why it's so important for there to be representation, because she clearly saw herself in this little girl and wanted to then dress like her and have her hair like her. But also it speaks to our kids are picking up on a lot more than we realize. And so again, we just want to prepare them because they're certainly tapped to everything that's happening. So with that, Michelle, I think we did it. This was so great, so fun. I think we should do more of these lives. I like talking to you like this. We don't really even talk for 45 minutes during the week. So
I know it's a lot of texting with the different schedules, but yeah,
yeah.
this is great. And I think if folks go to reneemarsh.com and they check out the other sensory elements to the nature of change, to me, that was a really nice bonus. And then maybe you go to do that and then you order the book, or order the book, then do that. It's just such a great gateway to writing and sharing feelings that I think it's just so approachable, the way you set it up for parents.
Yeah, and that was my hope. And obviously tonight, the big kind of get here is the autographed copy. So we have limited stock of that. But if you do want to get an autographed copy, all you have to do is comment shop in the comment section if you're on Instagram or Facebook, and you're going to get a DM with a link, and it tells you exactly how to purchase the book, and it's an autographed copy. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link there that you can click to purchase a copy that is autographed. And that is it for the night, guys. The nature of change. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so grateful to everyone who tuned in, and I look forward to hearing how you guys like the book once you get it in March. March 10th is when the book comes out and is available in bookstores. Bye.
Awesome.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Renee. We love the book.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.
Thanks for all the questions. They were really good tonight.